Micah Frankel for CageMinds.com. We have a special guest, Invicta FC Atomweight Champion, Michele Waterson. Thank you for the time. How you doing, Michele?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm great. Sorry it took some trouble to try to schedule to get this interview to be done.
I mean, it happens. There's always some sort of mix-up, and towards the end of my camp, I'm kind of just like, I say yes to everybody, and then I forget who is calling when. But I'm glad it got to work out.
And then talking about that media, moving over to UFC Fight Pass, it's the first Invicta event. You're now basically the face of this event, the face of the organization right now. How much extra media and extra strain has that put on you? Or are you already scheduled to have done here with the last couple weeks before the fight coming up?
Well, the UFC has done a great job of trying to keep everything organized, and, they had me out in Vegas for a day to try to get most of the media stuff out the way. Of course, there's always other people wanting to do interviews and stuff here and there. So, it's a part of the job, and if I want to be a fighter, that's what I have to do.
And then that responsibility right now, being out there as the champion and as the face of the promotion, how you feel you're handling all that, and what's that like for you?
It's fun. I have to practice how I talk and what words to use. So it's actually helping me become a little bit less socially awkward. But I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Kind of giving people my side of the story or my opinion, and as a female fighter, so it's pretty cool.
So in your happenings with so far having to do all this media, what's been the most awkward moment? You said working on your awkwardness, but what's been the most awkward moment?
Nothing really too crazy, before the announcement was made that Invicta was linking up with UFC Fight Pass, it was really, really supposed to be kept under wraps, and so it was kind of cool to have this little secret that I was keeping, and so it was kind of hard for me to keep that secret, but I'm glad I was able to, because it was just a huge surprise to a lot of people, and I think it was a good surprise.
So what was your reaction then? You knew about it first when you heard about it.
I was excited, now we're linked up with UFC. It's the powerhouse of MMA, and, it's just going to be a great partnership, I think, and sky's the limit as far as what Invicta is capable of doing from here on out.
I'm so glad to see Invicta back. It's been so long, and I know that's the same thought for you, so now seeing where it's led up to, how can you look back on all this downtime waiting to find out what was going to happen?
I know that Shannon has always had her best interest at hand, and she's just trying to play her cards right, and unfortunately it took a little longer than she expected. But like I said, Shannon is so passionate about her athletes, and I just had to have, trust in her that she was doing the right thing. And in the meantime, I had to, focus on myself as a person and as a fighter, and really kind of do some introspection and see if, and kind of become a fighter because I wanted to, and not because I had a fight coming up. If that makes any sense, I had to learn how to embrace it in my daily life.
So this was finding kind of a refining of a love for the daily in and out grind of everything?
Yeah, I think as a fighter you get used to having a fight camp, fighting, and then having a little break, and then finding out when you're going to fight again. So it's kind of like this up and down roller coaster. You don't always want to be too overtrained. You don't want to be undertrained. And so a lot of fighters end up on this roller coaster. When they have a fight, they're training hard, and then they kind of taper off. And I really had to find kind of like a happy medium between that, and take a step back and look at all these people that do martial arts because they love it and not because it's their career, and how lucky I am to be able to do it as a profession and not to take advantage of that,
It was a good solid year of you just getting to do that, I believe, before this fight came up. So what was it like turning that switch back the other way? Got into that routine, and then you get back into the fight camp routine.
Oh, it's great. I feel 100% the strongest I've ever been, and I keep climbing that ladder. I'm mentally prepared. I was strong coming into the camp, and I think that had a lot to do with my strength and conditioning and my training on my off season. And I mean, it's a night and day difference from my training camp, I feel.
So what's some of that stuff you've been doing, who you've been working with to pick that aspect of your game up?
Well, my strength and conditioning coach, Steve Harworth, I hope I'm not butchering his last name, but he owns a gym out here called Turning Point, and usually strength and conditioning the last thing on my list. I really don't enjoy doing it, but I told myself if I wanted to become the champ and stay the champ that I had to do something to improve, my strength, and so instead of not doing the strength and conditioning, I picked it up and I started going in 2-3 times a week, and then I eventually was going into strength and conditioning 5 times a week and getting ready for fitness, bikini competition, and just kind of challenging myself and stepping outside of my comfort zone, I think really helped.
So talking about that comfort zone, what else were you doing? I know that you've been coaching. I saw you in the corner for Nikki Lowe at her pro debut. You've been at the Jackson, the martial arts school a lot, coaching. You talked about the bikini contest. What have all these other things done to keep you busy, and what else have you been up to?
Yeah, I think it's so important to be able to do those things because it gives you a different outlook on the whole fight game and the fight career. And if you can look at it at all different angles, I think you're better off. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of that stuff. I dabbled into. I tried my hardest on American Ninja Warrior, and unfortunately, I fell in the water right away. But
I will give you credit. Yeah. I don't know who lands that first one anyway. Only a few people can do that much. I give you credit, and it's not like you slid and face planted off that second one. I watched the video today. It was more like you were there and you kind of jumped backwards, it looked like. Oh,
so sad. It was so sad. I've always wanted to be a Ninja Warrior, and I totally, I bombed it, and hopefully they let me try out again next year so I can redeem myself.
That's it. So now it's a goal. You're looking into that? More the free running?
Yeah, it's a lot of agility, a lot of upper body, and a lot of just kind of having the confidence in yourself, and obviously I didn't.
Great experience. How cold was that water? How bad was that?
Oh my gosh. They didn't show it on the show, but I got out on the wrong side, and they were telling me, you have to get out on this side because that's where the cameras were. So I was like, well, what does that mean? They're like, you got to get back in the water.
So you
I think that's one of the reasons why I fell in, because I was so afraid to fall in the water that I did.
Wow, but not deterred, up for a second chance at it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you practice it, and at home, when you're in the comfort of your home or around your friends, you can do these things. But when you have that pressure of the cameras on you, the crowd being there, it not being filmed till late at night, you not being able to run the obstacle, like all these different things factor into it. And if there's anything that can help me kind of get in tune with my body and my mental state, I would love to do it,
So we know in fighting, warming up is a big part of it. You got to be warm to go out there and get in your groove. Was that literally like it looks like on TV for Ninja Warrior? You take off your jacket while you're standing there and you just walk up and it's your turn?
Basically, they have like a little trampoline and like a little pull-up bar on the sidelines that you can warm up on. But yeah, it was pretty cold out there in Denver.
Well, from Ninja Warrior back to being a cage warrior, you're defending your title, and I'm going to murder her name, Yasuko Tamada. I think it's
Yasuko Tamada. That's how I That's how I think you pronounce it.
I murdered it. How do you? How happy are you to first off have your opportunity to be in the main event right away, getting this historic event and this opportunity to showcase yourself?
Oh yeah, you know, I'm extremely excited, and I think that you know, I got to bring it home.
And then being the champion, how much of a goal was that for you to defend your title? I know some other people have won titles and moved right on to other organizations and other stuff, but how much of it was a goal of yours to defend your title?
I think that's one of the most important things for me, is because I feel like in order to, like, say, yes, I am the champion, that I have to defend the belt at least once. And so, you know, it's been hard winning the belt and kind of being off for so long, because I still feel like I still have that need of wanting to just, like, kind of, like, close that chapter. So I'm excited to have this chance September 6th.
And then, of course, with strawweights being added to the UFC, I'm sure you've got a lot of that. But how much is it for you that you would like to defend your belt kind of a few times to really put your stamp on it that you are the top 105-pound woman in the world?
Yeah, I think you just said it. You know, I want to be able to say that I ran through all these girls, and there's not a question, you know, in anybody's mind that I deserve the 105 title. You know, and then once I have been able to conquer that, then maybe I will look onto other ventures. But, you know, in the meantime, my focus is 105 belts for Invicta.
Does there add a different kind of pressure right now that you're the champion? It's a goal that you want to defend it. You've acknowledged it. Do you feel a certain kind of pressure? Like you said, it's a national rivalry kind of in this matchup too. You want to bring it home. How does that all play into it?
Well, I'm sure it does add pressure, but I just try not to think about it, you know, because I'm just there to fight. And if I go into the fight with that type of mentality, then my instincts will just take over, and there won't be any pressure.
Going back home, the same state, but you guys are moving into a bigger arena. Big changes. It all took a lot of time. Was there ever a time where you thought, I don't know if I'm going to get to fight again, or really, how long is this going to take? Do I look into something else? Were there any ever dark thoughts that creeped into your mind during this layoff then?
Yeah, you know, there's always going to be dark thoughts, and that's just I'm playing with you. And also, I think the hardest part for me is that I have a family, and that, you know, I want to provide for my daughter, and I want her to see that mommy's a hard-working person, and for me to have a layoff for that long is just kind of hard to try to explain to her, like, that I'm, like, holding out for something bigger, you know. And you know, thank God for my husband, and he picked up the slack when it came to, like, all the financial burdens, and you know, I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I'm glad I was able to be patient about the whole situation, and you know, just now that we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel, I think it's come September 6th, Invicta's going to blow up, and it's just, I think it's going to be huge for us ladies.
I'm so looking forward to Invicta, and it's going to be on a server that I'm sure that can handle it, so I'm extremely looking forward to being able to watch all the fights and not argue on Twitter.
I know, I was at the UFC offices last week, and I met the guys that are in charge of the UFC Fight Pass and all the stuff that goes on with it. And you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but they got a really good team of people that are behind the desks and making sure that everything runs smoothly. So I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a smooth sailing.
That's great to hear, and it was great to get a chance to talk to you. I wanted to give you a chance, Michele, to thank everyone that's been helping you out, sponsors and loved ones, all that. Your time.
Well, you know, I just really want to thank my sponsors for sticking with me through this little drought that I had, and you know, believing in me as much as my friends and family do, and my coaches, and all the fans out there. Looking forward to putting on a good show for everybody on September 6th. And if anybody is interested in following me and what I do to my day-to-day life, and you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Karate Hottie MMA. But yeah, so going back to my sponsors, I'm just going to shout them out real quick. Americana MMA, if you want to get a t-shirt, they're on sale right now, I think until Tuesday. And then On It supplements, only supplements I take. And actually, I also take electrolytes from Sports Food. So those are my main sponsors, and I'm very excited for them to be on Team Hottie.
It's great to hear. Again, everyone, Invicta FC 8, September 6th, UFC Fight Pass, if you can't be in Kansas City, Missouri for the event. Thank you again, Michele Waterson, and best of luck.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.